What goes up must come down. Welcome to the Brand Breakdown. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Courtney.
And this is where we're going to track the rise and fall of big brands, from companies to celebs to pop culture phenoms and everything in between. Let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. It's been a minute, but there's been so much happening in the royal news that I want to give us a quick weekly wrap up. Actually, it's a bi-weekly wrap up because we've got 2 weeks to talk about. I have our royal aficionado, Courtney, here with us. Hi, Courtney.
Hi.
Hi. So I want to jump right in and we're going to go back a couple of weeks and let's talk about, first of all, I think Wimbledon became before the ESPYs, right? Or were they the same day?
They weren't the same day, but they were the same week, I believe. But I can't remember now. It's also foggy in my brain.
So let's talk about Wimbledon first.
Okay.
It's foggy in your brain. It's foggy in my brain too. With expected foggy tomorrow and continued foggy the next day. What was it from Groundhog Day when Bill Murray says it's hot and shitty with continued hot and shitty and more hot and shitty tomorrow? It was one of those movies. Anyway, so let's talk about Kate and her surprise appearance at Wimbledon, which maybe wasn't a surprise to some people, was a surprise to some of us. So tell me a little bit about that, and let's talk about her gorgeous dress and her precious Charlotte, who was with her.
Yeah, so Kate attended Wimbledon, as you just said, and she is the royal patron of the All England Lawn Tennis Club, which is where Wimbledon, the tournament, takes place. And her attendance was kind of anticipated but not guaranteed. So a lot of people assumed once she attended trooping, and she did make that statement saying she may attend some more events throughout the summer depending on how she feels. A lot of people took that to say, like, okay, she's going to be at Wimbledon, because I believe she's been at Wimbledon every single year since she was still dating William. She might have missed a year or two due to like kids' births, because Prince George's birthday was earlier this week, so right around that time frame. But anyway, more on that later. But so her attendance was kind of predicted. I personally, as much as I adore Kate, like we all know, I'm a huge Kate fan. And I think you and I had talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were, talking about whether or not she would end up at Wimbledon. I was happy to see her, obviously, for my own, like, royal watching benefit. But it was exactly what I thought was going to happened, which is that the haters and all of her detractors were like, oh, look, she shows up to do the fun thing. She shows up to do the thing that's not really work. She sits in the royal box and she doesn't have to interact with people. Like, of course, she's well enough to attend that, but not anything else. Like, of course, she'll attend that. Like, she's so lazy, which has been a criticism of Kate for years, because there are lots of people who think that she doesn't do enough work, and that she tends to pick events and engagements that are more fun than substantial, which is like entirely not the case. And if people are actually paying attention, the events that get noticed are the events that are more fun, but she does a lot of very deep hands-on work. But so what I was afraid would happen did happen, and people kind of used it as an opportunity to slam her. But she's used to that, and I'm sure she just was like, whatever, who cares? Especially this year, I don't care. So
I read, sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay, I read that she has told the firm kind of what she's going to do and what she's not going to do because of her cancer diagnosis. I think, I'm just supposing this. I don't have any proof, but that she's maybe prioritizing some things that she didn't before. And she's like, yes, I'm going to do these engagements, but these things I need to watch myself and my children and my family. And I feel like, I know you talked about it, that you think she's going to go full speed ahead on her calendar, but I think she's going to pull back still. I still feel that. And I kind of read a couple of articles that, back that up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that one of the things that we're going to see is, like we've been talking about for so long, there's this change and this shift in how William and Kate have always intended to have their royal roles, now that they are the Prince and Princess of Wales, and they are the next generation of monarch. And so I think that this period of time for Kate is going to be, it's definitely like a transition period where when she comes back, I think she's going to come back full time. I think she's going to go like diving, not like diving right back into her work, but I think she'll be doing the same amount of work as she was doing before. However, I think that what's going to happen is that it's going to shift to that new kind of framework that William and Kate have been laying the foundation for this whole time, which is less getting out there and being seen at like every single ribbon cutting and more quality over quantity of engagements. So imagine that her work week is no longer, say, let's call it like half the time spent in meetings and half the time spent out at engagements. It's probably going to be 10% of the time spent out at engagements and most of the time in meetings and actually doing work that was probably a ridiculous amount, not 10%, but like probably doing work in the way that like we all think of work, you know, sitting in an office, sitting at a desk, taking calls, going through emails, reading reports, and doing more actual like office work type of stuff that we'll never really see. Like we'll never see the behind the scenes stuff. There's a possibility that William and Kate will release some photos, like the Danish royal family releases photos sometimes of Fred and Mary like sitting at their desks to be like, look, they did stuff. Or they'll release photos of them like in a meeting. And unless the Brits start doing that, we'll never see that work. But William and Kate are hiring for a new private secretary, and one of the requirements of the role is that the person be fluent in Welsh. And the role is going to be specifically to help them with their work in Wales and I believe Scotland and Northern Ireland. So not England focused, but more across the greater UK. So it'll be interesting to see what hiring for that specific role brings as well, because none of the other royals have ever really hired for a private secretary and been like, you're going to focus on like a specific country for us. So that'll be interesting as well to see if they start becoming more involved in Welsh initiatives, which William has indicated before is like really important to him to do. So we'll see.
Don't you wish you spoke Welsh?
No, okay. So I follow I follow this girl on Instagram who actually like really hates the royal family, but she's Welsh and she teaches people how to speak Welsh on Instagram, kind of like little phrases here and there, and it seems like the most confusing thing. And I don't think I would ever be able to grasp it. So like, yes, I wish I did. I wish I spoke a lot of languages, but specifically to apply to this role, I wish I spoke Welsh, but I don't think I would ever be able to learn it. It seems incredibly complicated.
Yeah, I was just kidding. I just know you would go work for them in a heartbeat,
I don't know if they'd let me. They'd be
if
like,
you
"Oh,
had
you're
the
the girl."
opportunity.
Yeah, but they'd be like, "Oh, you're the girl who like talks about us a lot, and like you're too they're like you're too fangirly. You can't work for us." Even though I could probably do a way better job with their PR than anybody who currently works for them. Just saying.
Right? I think so too. I think you could do a great job. I say go for it. I think you should work for them. I'll support that, and I'll come visit you.
Okay.
Um, okay, so moving on. Let's talk a bit about her dress. It was amazing. People said it was an homage to Diana. Does it always have to be an homage to Diana?
Ugh, no,
Um,
it doesn't, and it almost never is. It was actually an homage to herself because the last 3 years she wore dresses from the same designer that were in a very similar style, just different colors. So it was not an homage to
yeah,
Diana; it was
it's
an
so
homage
annoying.
to her own style.
Yeah, I just all the time. It's like, oh, it's an homage to Diana all the time, and that drives me bananas.
Me too.
Because it's not. But
No, I
anyway,
mean, I think there are
speaking
some
of,
things that she's done that were like her when she had Prince George and she wore that blue polka dot dress, and then she had Charlotte and she wore the red polka dot dress, I believe. I think those were little nods to Diana because she had worn a polka dot dress when she was pregnant with William and all of that. So I think that that sometimes there are these like intentional little throwbacks, but I don't think every single thing, like every time she wears a color, I don't think it's like, oh my God, Diana wore that once. So she's obviously doing it to pay a nod to a woman she never met in her entire life.
Yeah, I think that's weird. However, I did love her dress, and I thought Charlotte was absolutely precious. I just
She
love
looked
her,
so
little
cute.
Charlotte. She looks like she'd be such a sweetie too. And her little
Yeah.
braids were so cute. I just loved her so much.
Yeah. I
Okay,
thought Charlotte
so
looked
then,
adorable. And Pippa was there. We never see the Pips anymore.
yeah, I like her. Yeah, I mean, I like her fine. I just don't really notice her that much. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's what she
Like,
wants,
she just
you
doesn't.
know.
Yeah, I mean, she's fine. Whatevs. Um, so, I mean, I like her fine, but she's not. She's not in the. She doesn't do anything that I'm that interested in that I know about. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah,
sure
but it
she's
was
doing
nice that
lots of
she
things,
was
but
there. She was there, you know,
oh, I
supporting her
love that she's.
sister.
Oh yeah, no, I love their relationship. I just don't think that she purposely does not want to be. I don't think newsworthy.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah. She wants
Which
to keep it on the DL.
you go,
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that's great. That's working out for her. Speaking of people on the DL who are not on the DL, let's talk about our friends across the pond who went to the ESPYS and got an award.
Mm,
So there's that.
yeah. So Harry was nominated for the Pat Tillman Award, which I think we had talked about. I think we talked about this on our last episode because it was coming up. And now it has since passed. And so, you know, he accepted the award. ESPN moved forward with awarding it to him, even though many people took issue with it, including Pat Tillman's own mother, who is probably the only person who gets a say in who should receive an award that is in honor of her son. And he still received it. They didn't walk the red carpet, which I thought was interesting. They also didn't stay for the entire rest of the ceremony. They left immediately after Harry got his award, which caused like kind of a disturbance in the crowd because they were seated right at the front and then they walked out and people were like watching them. And I thought that was a very ungracious thing to do. Like you show up late and you leave
Why would they do
early.
that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not a good look, I don't think. I did, if we want to be like rumor mongers for a second, I did see a couple of things that were like, there's trouble in Montecito and like everything they do together now is just such a show. And he just like they can't even play nice long enough to have stayed through the whole ceremony. And that's why they left. But I don't necessarily believe that that's true because they did look very happy together. And while Meghan is an actress, I don't know that Harry is a good enough actor to have looked as happy as he did sitting there next to her. Yeah, no, I think she looked lovely, although you and I had discussed again, we're having like same problem with the dress. Like I don't know what it is that she has against tailoring something, but it did not fit her the way it fits the models in like the stock photos for the dress, and it just didn't quite look right. Like the seams weren't laying flat. The neckline, it had kind of like that mock neckline. It wasn't sitting the right way. Um, she just seems to have something against tailoring, and I don't understand why. Because if you're going to wear a dress that's a few $100s, you should probably also make sure it looks right when you're wearing it. But that's okay if that's what she chooses to do or not do.
Yeah. I don't know why she does that. It's weird. Now, I did hear that she and Venus didn't like each other. Is that true?
Yeah, it was so weird because so Venus was like sitting on the other side. So Serena was the host. So we've got pictures of Megan and Serena talking. It wasn't on, she didn't walk the carpet. So it was like some like interior step and repeat. And we have pictures of the two of them like talking and chatting and they look super happy. And then Venus did her Serena rather did her hosting duties. But Venus was sat next to Harry. I think they were in the front row, maybe the second row. And at one point, she kind of is just looking over, kind of giving them like the stink eye. And when Harry was on stage accepting his award, like she was kind of giving him the stink eye a little bit. And I believe, like I saw something that said she was like the only person in the audience who like didn't clap for Harry when he got up to get his award. So I don't know if Venus
Yeah.
doesn't like I don't know if she doesn't like them, or if she just like, I don't know, maybe she's just sitting in the audience and she's not feeling like she has to be posing the whole time, which is a perfectly acceptable way to be sitting in an audience. um, but it didn't come across as super warm and fuzzy relations between the group. So I don't know. I was surprised.
Yeah, it looked weird to me. I saw it on, I don't know, Twitter, Instagram, or something like that. And definitely she was giving them the stank eye. Like it was so
Yeah.
crazy. And I was like, ooh, does she not like them? That's weird. Okay, so moving on to this week. I guess we'll start with George's birthday. Cute little thing in
Yeah.
that black and white picture.
Yeah. It's so funny. I saw this thing on Twitter or X or whatever it's called the other day that was like, when you think of Prince George, what picture do you think of? And it was a lineup of all of his birthday photos. And I think like the one that like the image of him that like always pops into my head when I think of him is when he was like, I don't know, like his seventh birthday, like his sixth or seventh birthday photo. But he just turned 11, I believe. And he just looks like such a grown little man. And he attended the day after, maybe it was the same day. Kate and Charlotte went to Wimbledon, and William and George went to the Euro Cup to cheer on the English football team. And so, yeah, and George went to the football with William, and he just looked so cute, and it was adorable that I think, like, Charlotte went with Kate and George went with William, and they had some parent time. But he just looks like a little man now. Like he's not a little kid anymore, and it's weird. It like freaks me out because obviously I don't know him, so we only get glimpses of him, and when you only see a picture of somebody every 6 months or so, you see these like huge jumps in their growth, and they go from being like a little baby to a toddler to a tween. He's like a tween now, right? Officially?
Is he 11?
I think so.
It's still, yeah. So yeah, he's a tween.
Yeah, like
How old is Connor?
Connor is 6.5.
Isn't Connor like 6.5? He'll be there faster than you know it.
I know. It freaks me out.
He will be there faster than you know it. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that the picture was adorable. And how did she release it? Because that's always interesting to me.
Yeah, she shared it. Kate took the picture, she shared it on her social media, the same as they've done in the past. I don't know if it was released to the press first, though, or if it was only on social media. That I'm not sure of.
Well, it kind of seemed like after what happened earlier in the year, she stopped playing ball with the press.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame
Is that
her
fair?
for never. Yeah, I wouldn't blame her for never releasing the family photos directly to the press ever again. Um, so I think that they are probably just from now on going to take the route of posting it on their social. And if all the press agencies want to flip out about it being edited or whatever, it's like, well, who doesn't edit a social media photo sometimes?
Oh, well, they can suck it. Like, I don't have any time for that business.
Tell us how you
I
really
mean,
feel.
that's silly. Well, I know, right? Well, I'm definitely tired. So I have less, uh, what's the word? Patience for idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like she gets a lot of herself. And for people to continually bash her because they don't think it's enough, it's just annoying to me. That's all I have to say about that.
I agree.
Um, all right, moving on. So what else is in the news?
So we have the Paris 2024 Olympics starting, I think next week is the opening ceremony, which is so excited because I'm one of those people who gets like
This
overly into the.
weekend. It's this weekend.
Is it this weekend? I get like so overly into the
Hey,
Olympics. Yeah, the 27th, right? Is the opening ceremony or the 26th?
so Friday is the 26th. Maybe it's Saturday. I can't remember.
It's yeah, so Friday The 26th, 1:30 p.m. to 5:15 Eastern time. Oh, it's like right in the middle of the day. Okay, well, I'll have to talk to some folks about that. But
Just record it.
yeah, I'll just have it playing, like, on the side. Like, I'll put it on going on my iPad next to my computer while I work. But yeah, so I'm super into the Olympics. I get very into it. One year we had an Olympics party at my house before we had kids. It was so much fun. Like a beer Olympics situation. But this year, sadly, Zara Phillips, Princess Anne's daughter, did not make the GB Olympic team. She is an equestrian. She's been on the last few Olympic teams, and she didn't make the team this year. So we won't get to see one of our favorite royals competing, which is a bummer. And also, speaking of Princess Anne, she has been out and about back on engagements. Last time we spoke, she had recently been kicked in the head by a horse and was in the hospital, but she seems to be doing well. She's back out on her regular schedule. She did say recently she has absolutely no recollection of what happened. She just she knows she was out for a walk and then she woke up in the hospital, and she doesn't really remember the event at all, but she seems to be healing well and getting back out there. So that's great news for her. And then another piece of, I don't know that it's necessarily news, but as Prince Harry comes up on his 40th birthday in the next few weeks, I believe he turns 40 in September, he is set to inherit, I think he's getting, the way it was divided, so it was the Queen
Million.
Mother's
7 million.
So it's going to be more than that, because it was the Queen Mother's inheritance that she divided up amongst her grandkids, and William and Harry combined were set to get 14 million. But the way it always works out is because because William's going to be king, and because he has the Duchy of Cornwall and he has essentially an income as heir to the throne, he will get less than 50% of what the inheritance is. So Harry will get more than 7. If they were splitting it 50-50, like the York princesses are probably splitting theirs 50-50, so they'll each get like 7 and 7. But Harry will get more than William. And then also something to consider is that at the time when she died, it was 14 million, supposedly, reportedly. And so I'm assuming some interest has accrued in the last, when did she die? She died in like 2002, I think. So I'm assuming some interest has accrued in the last 20 some odd years. So he'll be inheriting a nice little hefty sum on his birthday. So good for him, I guess.
So I had read an article doing the comparison of the people who lived in Montecito because it's fun. And Harry and Meghan combined net worth is apparently only around 50 million.
Only.
And yeah, but down the road from them, I say only because down the road is Oprah at 2.5 billion, and also Tyler Perry at 1.2 billion, and then I think Gwyneth and her husband had a house somewhere around there,
Mm-hmm.
and their combined worth is around 500 million. So they're like the poor relations in Montecito. And I have heard that they are not being invited to things across the pond in the UK because people don't want to offend William and Kate. But I've also heard they're not being invited to things in Hollywood because people just really don't care. And because they're not really royals anymore, they don't have any cachet.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I definitely think that that's one of the biggest strains on their like UK and European relations is, people that Harry has known his whole life also know his brother and his father. And, being in that awkward position to pick a side, it's likely, I would bet, that people are going to pick the side that would be more beneficial to them. So they're probably going to opt to stay friendly with William and the king. And then, yeah, I think that as far as it goes in LA, in Montecito, which is actually like I don't know, an hour or two outside of LA. But they, people don't really know them. Like, Megan did not hang out with these people when she was on Suits. Suits filmed in Toronto. She was not anywhere near like A-list status. So they didn't really know these people before. Like, she did not know these people before she got married to Harry. And then if she had any sort of casual relationship with them after she got married to Harry, it was strictly on virtue of like people, wanting to be close to a royal. And now it sounds like so horrible to say, but like they're just not on the same level as Oprah, Tyler Perry, Gwyneth. Like they don't have that type of money. And I guess
Well,
like hmm,
I'm sorry. Frankly, they don't have the same work ethic.
yeah,
Like
like
Harry has never military.
they're not
Yeah, he's not
like
worked.
yeah, like they're not bringing anything to the table necessarily. Like, you know, Megan was photographed out this week with Kimberly Williams Paisley, who is Brad Paisley's wife, and she's also an actress and she was on a few shows. Um, but the article I read said like, oh, perhaps they were talking about like some charity stuff because Kimberly is very involved in like a bunch of different charity organizations. And it's like, yeah, maybe, but we haven't seen any indication that Megan like really seriously wants to get into charity stuff, because if she did, she would have stayed a working royal, because that's literally all they do. Um, and we know that Megan has a few projects in the works that we're waiting to see. We've got the podcast. They bought the rights to some movie for Netflix. So like there's still some stuff that we're waiting to see, but I don't understand how I can't imagine hanging out with these incredibly accomplished people and what she could possibly have to talk to them about. Because these are people who have like set the bar in various industries, like in media and philanthropy, and I just can't imagine what the conversation is when they're all together, because it's like, oh, what have you guys done? Any more interviews bashing your family on the international press? Like, it's just weird.
I'm with you. Like I don't think that they have a lot to offer right now, because if they were just doing charity work and that was their service, I would be behind that. That would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But they are not. Like
Yeah.
they're not really doing that, and their Netflix show isn't out yet, which I think that's coming. The one about polo or something.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, and her
which
cooking show or whatever it is.
which
But
again, like unless she has a lot of good guests, I can't imagine the cooking show would be that interesting. She's not really a chef.
right. I mean, I guess I could see
You
this
know,
show. I could see the show like if it just became the live action version of the Tig, I guess. Um, but yeah, you're right. Like, unless she's got guests, like, it can't just be her monologuing at the camera for a half hour, 45 minutes. So she's got to have a guest. And who are those people going to be? Are they going to be a big enough draw? I don't know. I mean, I'll watch. I'll watch. I'm not going to watch anything where they sit around and just bash the royal family for 6 episodes, but I'll watch the cooking show. I'll see how the polo show goes. Maybe I'll watch the movie that they bought the rights to if it seems like something I would want to watch. But we'll see.
I don't think they're going to bash the royal family. I can't imagine that they would. That would be suicide for them to do that.
Yeah, I think they've
That would not.
realized that
I
they can't
think.
keep trading on. They've realized, I think, they can't keep trading on that because nobody cares anymore. And every time they start to, people tune out even more than they already have. So I hope they've realized that that ship has sailed and they need to actually have something to bring to the table from now on.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because honestly, Megan really didn't look that good the last couple of times I've seen her. So, as much as she's not my very favorite, I don't want her to be ill or unhappy or any of that. So, I do want them to have some success with something that they do. Um, I just don't know what that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've
you
always
know?
said, like, I'm not rooting against them. Like, I'm rooting for them. Want anything I don't want any, like, badness for them. I don't want them to be unhappy. I don't want them to not be successful. Like, I want them to be successful. I just don't think they've taken the good path to getting there. And along the way, it's given us a lot to talk about, but I don't really think that's what
A
they
lot,
were setting
lot of
out to
heartburn
do.
for them. Yeah. No, I don't think they were looking to give us fodder for our podcast.
No.
Um, as lovely as that would be if they were doing that, I don't think that was their end goal. Well, I don't have anything else. Do you?
I don't think so. I think that is everything that's kind of happened with the Royals. We had discussed a couple weeks ago, like this is the time of year that's usually pretty quiet for them anyway, because they're all out on their summer holiday. They're headed up to Balmoral in the next couple of weeks to gather as a family, as they always do. So this is like a pretty quiet time in Royal Land. Although during the Olympics, I expect we may see them out and about supporting Team GB here and there, especially because Paris is so close. So we'll keep an eye out for that and see if we get any cute spottings of them watching any of the events.
I hope so. They're so cute.
Yeah.
Um, well, so thanks so much for tuning in today. We will be back, not this week because the Olympics are getting started, but maybe next Friday we'll have a little check in. And if not next Friday, definitely the next. So thanks,
Woohoo!
Courtney. Talk to you soon.